Hello, I'm Rose Abbott. Welcome to Grandma's Open Pantry, and today we're going to be doing I'm going to cook for you some fried chicken, and I've got some corn in this pot that I took out of the freezer that we froze last year out of our garden, and I'm going to be frying some squash that we got out of our garden the other day. And this is green beans that I picked yesterday out of our garden, and this is some squash and cucumbers. And this is some stir-fried green beans that I already did. I did them this morning, so I'll just put them in the microwave and reheat them. And when I went to the grocery store yesterday, I bought a whole chicken and I cut it up, and I have to be gluten-free and sugar-free, so I will be battering. I cut my chicken up yesterday and I soaked it in buttermilk overnight. And I have seasoned it this morning with seasoned salt. And in my flour mixture, I use gluten-free flour. I have put salt, pepper, and a little seasoned salt in it. And I put seasoned salt on my chicken itself. So I've had my frying pan over here getting hot. And I've already battered or floured some. It doesn't have as thick of a batter as regular flour does, like your White Lily self-rising flour or all-purpose flour that you use to coat your chicken. But since I can't have that, then I have to do the next best thing, which is gluten-free. And it's good. It's just not as it doesn't get as crisp as regular flour does. So in my corn, in my pot over there with my corn, I put some salt, pepper, and butter. And promise you can take the lid off if you want to, because it's still frozen. I've just got it there thawing. And so I'm going to have to cook this chicken in two batches because it's too much to go in one pan. So I'm trying to do the thicker pieces first, and then I'll do the thin pieces. And the way I cut this chicken up, it was a pretty big chicken. So I cut the breast. This is a breast fillet, and then this is a breast fillet, and I cut a pulley bone, which is in there, and then these were really big breasts, so I cut the fillets off, and I left some meat on the bone. My husband really likes the bone in, so that's how that I did that. And so I'm going to let this fry, and I'm going to let my corn, it's thawing in the pan. And I've got some squash over here that I'm going to fry, and I do it gluten-free also. And so we'll come back in a few minutes when I get more of it done. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, our chicken is cooking, and now I'm going to check our corn. I mixed white corn and yellow corn. The white corn is Silver Queen corn that we planted last year. And the yellow corn is just like a kind of a sweet corn. So sometimes I like to mix mine. And it takes about I think it's about 10 minutes. And it doesn't take it very long at all to cook. And so our chicken is cooking really well. And I checked it. I usually set my timer for 15 minutes. And at about 7 or 8 minutes after it's been cooking that long, then I'll turn it when it gets like golden brown. And so it's cooking really good right now. And so I'll be back with y'all in a few minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes since I put the corn on, so I'm going to taste of it and see if I got enough salt and pepper. I just seasoned it with salt, pepper, and butter. So I'm going to taste of it and make sure that it's seasoned okay. It's going to be hot, but I want to make sure that I've got enough salt. That's good. That's really good. And our chicken, a lot of people don't. They just go by look. But I use a digital thermometer with my chicken. Because they say when chicken gets 169 degrees, that it's done. So I try to use a digital thermometer because I don't want to put any uncooked or raw chicken on the table. So I always stick it down in my chicken. And now it's like probably, as you can see, it's 147 degrees. So what I'm fixing to do now is I'm going to turn it until it gets brown on the other side and until it gets at least 169 to 70 degrees internally. And I had it on like medium, but I'm fixing to turn it up a little bit because I want it to get a little bit browner. And while this batch is finishing, I'm going to go over here and I cook my squash in it's like a fry daddy. Matter of fact, this is a fry baby, I think. So I put it on 350 degrees. And I've got a grease in here that I used yesterday because we have fried squash about every day. So this is plain cornmeal and gluten-free flour that I use to, so I cut my squash up. I sliced my squash this morning and I seasoned them with salt and pepper. And also, I make up my own seasoning. It's black pepper, red pepper, and garlic powder. And so I sprinkle a little bit of that on it. So what I do is I batter some of my squash pieces like this. I just coat them really good, really well in this cornmeal and flour mixture. And then I put them over on a paper towel. And I let them sit for a few minutes. And that lets that flour and cornmeal mixture, it gets a little wet. So whenever you put them in your fryer, then it makes a crisper coating on your squash. And I put it, when I slice my squash, I put salt on them and I let them, some of that juice water comes out of your squash. And so I pour that off, and then I let it sit for about an hour with the salt on it, and then I pour that off, and then I put like probably 2 or 3 tablespoons of buttermilk over them, and then I season them with a little bit more salt and pepper, and my special seasoning that I make up myself, and so that makes for a really crisp, good squash. And so I'm going to finish coating these, and I'm going to check on my chicken, and I'm going to turn my corn off because it's ready. And then as soon as I start dropping this squash, then I'll be back with you. Now I'm fixing to check the internal temperature of our chicken, and this is a pulley bone, and as you can see, it's 185. This is a thigh. It's 176. This is a leg. It's 170. It's 180. So I'm fixing to take our chicken up, and it doesn't get quite as brown as it does with regular stuffed rice or plain white lily flour. But when this is what you have to have, then you just learn to like it as well as you do the others. So, and our corn is ready. Thomas, you want to show them the corn? Our corn is ready, and I'm fixing to batter some more chicken, or coat some more chicken with our gluten-free flour here. And I always press it on really, really well. And my husband likes the skin, so I try to leave a little skin on for him. Of course, he'd rather have the dark pieces. He likes the, Promise and I like the white meat. We like the breast and the wings, and but he likes the dark meat. So I always try to leave the bone on. And when I cut my, you see this piece of meat right here? This is a wing. And I try to, when I cut my chicken, I try to cut down into the breast. So this little piece of wing right here will have a lot more meat on it. Because a lot of times your wing doesn't have a whole lot of meat. But if you cut down into that breast, it will give you more meat on your chicken. So, and I think my grease is getting hot for my squash over there. So as soon as I get this in, I'm going to start dropping some of my squash. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to set it for 7 minutes, and then I'll check it and probably turn it. So after 7 minutes. So, well, our chicken is frying, and I'm fixing to go over to the squash, and I'm going to check my grease and see. It looks like it's ready. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put, okay, Promise, can you get over in there and show them how this, see how it fries when you put it in there. So I put about probably half of this in here, and I will let it get good and brown, and then we'll do the second batch. Promise says she doesn't like squash, but I don't know that she's ever had fried squash, so we're going to see today if she likes fried squash or not. Okay, I checked the internal temperature of my chicken, and some of the smaller pieces, like the wings and the breast, they got done before 15 minutes. They got done in like 12 minutes. So this is the breast portion, and I didn't want to get burned. So it's measuring 180 degrees, so I know that's done. And I'm going to turn our chicken off, and we're fixing to take up our squash, and I want you to see them. Thomas, if you come over in here, baby, and look. See how pretty and brown they are? Now these do really, really good with gluten-free flour and plain cornmeal. They are real crunchy, especially if you let them sit, some of the water drain out, then put buttermilk over them, and then flour them or batter them like I've done here, and let them sit for a little while. Promise, if you'll come over here, I'll show you, baby. You see how it's kind of wet? That coating is kind of wet, and that makes for a real crunchy crust. And so I'm going to finish putting these in here. Our chicken is done. I got my green beans in the microwave reheating. My corn is hot, and my timer just went off. So we're going to be ready to eat here in a few minutes. So I'm going to finish putting these in. This is going to be all that we're going to do today. Thank you for joining me. Like I say, I'm new to this channel. This is my first video, and I know it's not very good. So if you would please subscribe to my channel, follow and subscribe. And my granddaughter's trying to tell me what what to say here, and I can't read her lips.
Like and subscribe.
Oh, like and subscribe. I'm sorry, I get Facebook and YouTube mixed up. So like and subscribe to my channel, please. It's Grandma Rose's Open Pantry. I'm sorry. Grandma Rose's open pantry. I'm gonna see how this works out, and then maybe I'll do another one, maybe I won't. I'll see when I watch this one. So, God bless y'all, and we'll see you next time. All right, Granddaddy's, this is my husband, Roy. Mwah. And he is fixing to get his plate, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have these green beans, we wouldn't have the squash, we wouldn't have the corn, because he works in the garden all the time. And so,
Squash chips. They're a delicacy. Oh, I love these things.
I fix them about every day because he loves them so good.
I use them as bread.
So, okay, Granddaddy,
They're just delicious.
you
Okay.
fix your plate, and we're
Give me a
fixing
bite.
to eat.
I'll get a few of these squash chips. By the way, these are good with salsa and just about anything else. These squash chips are.
They're good with just about anything, really.
What we don't eat at the meal, we eat between the meal. They never last. These are Roma 2 beans, green beans. Some people, they're not pole beans, but they look sort of like a pole bean. But the Roma 2, they have a delicious flavor, a little bit different than just a regular snap bean. They are good, of course.
So, Granddad's showing me plate. He always gets a little plate. He thinks he doesn't eat as much if he gets a little plate. So,
You gain more weight in a
he
big plate.
piles that little plate up. So, see y'all later.